The car raced through the night city. There were two people in it, a man and a woman. From the outside, it might seem that the husband and wife are in a hurry to go home to the children left there. "Can you go faster?" the woman asked nervously. "It's dangerous to drive. The city just seems empty. When will you finally tell him about us? How long will we meet stealthily, afraid of exposure? Why are you dragging? Tell him it will be easier and better for everyone," the man said. "Easier? To whom? You and me, maybe, and Varenka. She loves her father. And he's hers too. What will happen to her, to them, when they find out? It's cruel," the woman tried to justify herself. "Is it not cruel to deceive, to lie for so long? Do you think he doesn't know? I'm tired of sharing you with him. Do you want me to tell them myself, like a man? Don't do this, please. I myself? Give me time." The woman caught the hand of the man sitting behind the wheel and squeezed it tightly. "I love you very much too, but don't rush me. I promise that I will talk to my husband soon." The man turned his face, caught the look of his beloved and reached for her with his lips. From around the corner, a black SUV flew out across the car with a man and a woman, bringing imminent death. The woman's scream was drowned out by the rumble and grinding of metal. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. The music of the mobile phone broke through a shaky dream. For a moment, Dmitry teetered on the edge between sleep and reality, but the next moment he opened his eyes. Sasha called at 8 in the evening and said she was late. "A friend has some problems, can't leave her alone in this state. She promised to tell me everything later." He didn't have time to ask what kind of girlfriend, in what condition. Of course he could call friends whose numbers are clogged in his phone, but he found it humiliating for himself and his wife. Dmitry began to suspect something was wrong about 2 months ago. Too often Sasha stayed late in the evenings, a couple of times even broke off on weekends somewhere. She had too many friends who had unforeseen circumstances that required her participation. He reached for the phone on the bedside table. I saw an unfamiliar number. My heart sank with a bad premonition. "I'm listening." Dmitry answered in a hoarse voice from sleep. "Captain Ignatiev, are you the husband of Alexandra Petrovna Samakina?" "Yes. Your wife was in an accident. She was taken to the 4th City Hospital in serious condition. Is she alive?" Dmitry asked in a trembling voice. "Yes. But, Dad, is that Mom?" 10-year-old Varia was standing in the bedroom doorway, looking at her father in fright. Dmitry swallowed the lump stuck in his throat. "No. It's Mom in the hospital. She had an accident." "Is she dead?" "No, not at all. She's alive," Dmitry hurried. "But you asked?" "Dad." Varia rushed to him, wrapped her arms around his neck so tightly that he couldn't breathe. "Let's go to her." "I'm scared." Dmitry tore off his daughter's hands and sat her down on the bed next to him. "No, the hospital is closed. They won't let us in. We'll go to Mom's in the morning. Now let's go to sleep. And then we'll arrive sleepy. What will Mom say?" Dmitry forced a smile. Varia nodded and went to her room. He also lay down. Dawn was already peeking through the window. Dmitry remembered that he looked at the clock in the corner of the phone screen before answering the call. 2:30 in the morning. "We need to calm down." Dmitry pressed his hand to his chest. "My heart was pounding in my palm." In the morning, she and her daughter went to the hospital. He entered the resident's room, leaving Varia in the corridor. "Are you a husband?" asked the doctor about his age. "Yes." "What's wrong with my wife?" "We performed an operation on her. Serious head injury, multiple fractures. She's in a coma." "And how did she get into an accident? She doesn't drive a car." The doctor spread his hands. "I only know that an SUV crashed into the car in which your wife was traveling. Both drivers died on the spot. Your wife is lucky. I will not hide from you. Her condition is extremely serious. We're doing everything we can. The young body, I think, will cope. There is a chance. Can I go to her?" "I'm with my daughter. She's in the hallway. It's up to you. You know, your wife doesn't look the best, but often the presence of loved ones works wonders." "Let's go," the doctor pointed to the door. "Who was in the car with her?" Dmitry asked as they walked down the corridor to the intensive care unit. "Ask the police for that. I'm warning you, she's in a coma, not for long." The doctor opened the door to the ward. Dmitry didn't recognize Sasha. The head is bandaged. The open part of the face is covered with bruises and abrasions. some kind of alien, detached. On top of the blanket was a hand with a wedding ring. Her hand. Mom. Varia called, going up to the bed, stroked her hand. Is she asleep? I asked, turning to my father. Yes, she had an operation. We were only allowed to look at her. They drove home in silence. Dmitry called Sasha's mother, told her everything and asked her to come and stay with Varia. He needs to go to work. Maria Ivanovna entered the apartment, holding a wet handkerchief to her eyes. Maybe I'll take it to myself while I cook. You're not up to her right now, she said, calming down a little. Will you come to my place? Varia asked. She nodded. I warned her. Did she listen to me? Maria Ivanovna sobbed and stopped, catching Dmitry's surprised look. Maria Ivanovna, what did you warn Sasha about? She shook her head, blew her nose in a wet handkerchief. Speak up. Sooner or later I'll find out anyway, Dmitry insisted. Sorry, Dima. I told Sasha it wouldn't do her any good. Scolded. She waved her hand in despair, with a handkerchief clutched in it. I got along with one thing. I can't live without him. How crazy she became. Oh, I'm sorry, Dima, that's so. It would be better if Sasha herself. Dmitry felt a nagging pain in his heart again. He took a careful breath and winced. After all, he noticed changes in his wife, but did not want to face the truth, drove away suspicions from himself. Who is he? Asked dully. Genya Grachev. He had been in love with Sasha since high school. Then he went somewhere, like abroad. And when I came back, that's where it all started. Grachev. Dmitry saw him once. He sometimes, when time allowed, picked up his wife at the end of the working day. I was waiting in the parking lot. She ran up to the car, rejoicing at him as a gift. About 2 months ago, he also picked her up. In the parking lot, I saw Sasha with some man. They looked at each other, not noticing anything around them. It was immediately clear that these people are connected by much more than just acquaintance. He got out of the car and approached them. Sasha could not hide her confusion and fright at the sight of her husband. Then she smiled, as if nothing had happened, introduced her husband and a former classmate to each other. I think she called him by his last name. The men looked at each other, but did not extend their hands. There was hostility between them from the first second. Both realized that there could be no sympathy and friendship between them. How good that you came to pick me up. And then Varia's birthday is coming soon. I wanted to see a gift. Sasha took Dmitry by the arm and pulled him to the car. Before getting behind the wheel, Dmitry looked around. Grachev was no longer in the parking lot. All the way Sasha was nervously and hurriedly telling something, smiling at something. She didn't go to any friends but met with him, sleeping. What time is it? Maybe they discussed their future together, discussed me. She was comparing me to him. He drove her home that night. I was in a hurry. She hasn't been back this late yet. Maybe if it hadn't been for the accident, she would have confessed to me that night. Dmitry was breathing heavily, pain throbbed in his chest. Tomorrow I want to go to the hospital with Varia. Will they let us in? The words of his mother-in-law reached him, brought him back to the reality in which Sasha was lying in a coma. What should I do with all this? How to live? Revel in the role of an angry and offended husband, and if Sasha doesn't wake up? Fragments of thoughts were rushing in my head. Her lover is dead, and I'm alive. We have Varia. Let him just wake up, then it will be seen. Dmitry decided and replied that they would let him in. He said that the doctor did not forbid him to come and talk to her, and maybe while she's in a coma, tell her that he knows about her and Grachev. Vent your resentment. What if Sasha dies? Will he hear and die? No. You can't even think. Let him wake up, let him live for Varia's sake, for my sake. The next day at lunchtime, he went to the hospital and found Varia and Maria Ivanovna in the ward. When they left, he stared at his wife's swollen and wounded face for a long time. Then, clumsily, as if the tongue did not want to obey him, he said that he was trying to understand and forgive, that he wanted her to return to them with Varia. I wanted to tell her that I loved her, but I couldn't. The next morning, he received a call from the hospital and was informed that Sasha had come out of a coma. He immediately took off from work. But driving up to the hospital, I doubted. I was afraid whether I could restrain myself from reproaches. And what if he sees dislike, grief for Grachev in Sasha's eyes? I walked to the department on wobbly legs. The doctor sternly said that Sasha was still weak, sleeping again, but could wake up at any moment. In no case should she be worried. Dmitri slowly walked over to the bed where his wife was lying. "Sasha," he called. She opened her eyes and found his face. "I was so scared when I found out that you had an accident. I'm glad I came to my senses. I called Maria Ivanovna. She and Varya will arrive soon." Sasha watched without blinking. In her eyes there was agony, pain, and something else that Dmitri could not find a name for. "Don't torture yourself. I know everything. The doctor said that now you will definitely recover." He looked around the room, unable to look into her eyes. "Everything will pass, do you hear? The main thing is that you're alive. We need you, me, do you hear?" Sasha closed her eyelids and immediately looked at Dmitri again. "Mom." Varya ran into the ward. Dmitri went out into the corridor, sank into a chair without strength. Sasha is alive. What kind of grievances can there be? He will forgive her everything, he has already forgiven her. But why is it so oppressive inside and I want to howl? After a few days, Sasha was able to speak. They removed some of the bandages from her face and transferred her to a regular ward. "I have to tell you," she began in a guilty voice. Dmitri was sitting by the bed and holding her hand in his. "Don't. I don't want to know anything, because then your memories will become mine. He's gone. You're not here. And there is me and Varya, we are. Let the past remain in the past. Let's start all over again, if of course you want to." "I'm sorry," Sasha whispered, trying to hold back tears. "I've already forgiven you." 2 months later, Sasha was discharged from the hospital. She still walked on crutches, looked at things, furniture in the apartment, as if she recognized them anew. Dmitri did not allow her to do anything. He cooked, cleaned the apartment, went to the store. Maria Ivanovna helped. There was tension between them. They would have talked, discussed, but they hesitated, not daring to break the fragile peace. Dmitri often thought that it would be good to find a way to clear his memory, remove from it all unnecessary things that prevent him from living on, becoming the same. "I took a vacation. I want to go to my mother. When I come back, I will accept any decision you make," he once said. Sasha approached him. "I'm sorry, I know how much it hurts you. You're coming back, aren't you?" She looked at her husband with hope and anxiety. "Of course. Where am I without you and Varya? Or maybe we'll all go together? It's only 800 kilometers. We will stop often. Say you love me, stop torturing each other." Dmitri looked at his wife and waited for those single words that decide everything. He thought he loved her very much. That fate is on their side. After all, she saved them from Brachev. "Yes, we'll go together," Sasha said through tears. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. They left early when the sun had not yet appeared over the roofs of the houses, in order to drive as much as possible before the heat and get to the place by evening. Leaving the deserted sleeping city behind, we drove out onto the highway. Varya was sleeping in the back seat. "Are you afraid? Nothing else will happen to us." Dmitri caught his wife's intense gaze. Sasha smiled gratefully and put her hand on his thigh. Dmitri felt the warmth of her palm through the fabric of his jeans. "Everything will be fine. When you get tired, tell us to stop." Dmitri took his eyes off the road for a moment, looked at his wife. There are still traces of that accident on the skin of her face. He was looking ahead again. The track is packed with trucks and early travelers like them. You can't get distracted. In his hands is their life, their future. Everything will be fine. "We will have everything," Dmitri said confidently. "Everything will be fine," Sasha echoed.